Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me in this session on the future of AI, a myriad of opportunities. Today, I would talk about the world around us. While of course it is rather melancholic that we are in this situation, but for a marketer, for a technologist, I think what we're witnessing is a fascinating and a meteoric rise of AI all around us. In fact, so much is the amount of innovation that we see around us that even with things which is as fundamental as a mask, we're seeing innovations which are powered through AI. This is an example of a technology enabled mask made by Donut Technologies from Japan, which not only has a mask that amplifies the voice for a person when he or she speaks, but also transcribes and transliterates the language and converts into 8 different languages. So you have a mask which is smarter, and powered, by AI. In fact, what we see today is a plethora of innovations, something that were unimaginable a few years back. To give you an example, Deepbeat, which is a startup that looks into music creation, has created a solution which can actually create freestyle rap on the go. So if you have the flair for music and don't know what to write, here's Deepbeat for you. Who thought you could have AI actually start doing creative stuff? You now have an option of using Knowledge Graph, which uses millions of combinations of different types of uh, cooking ingredients, taste choices, and what have you, to create the culinary delight on the basis of pleasantness, novelty, and taste. That's another example of what AI is doing today. In fact, the one that is very recent is about creating faces that never existed. I wonder what will happen to the models. We've heard about deepfakes, we've heard about photoshops, but this is taking AI to the next level. We're using a combination of actual faces of human beings, and what you see on the top are different combinations of sources that you can mix and match along with source B to create faces of human beings that never existed. And there are many such innovations around us. Professional soccer clubs that don't or cannot afford a high price coach like Pep can now actually use AI that can scout through millions and millions of data points on players, their styles, opponents, and provide recommendations on what will be the right formation of strategies in terms of their game plan. China launched its first AI news anchor. This is a real anchor, Zhenzhou, who actually speaks real time, where the news is getting curated from millions of digital sound bites that are coming around it, parsed, curated, and presented and spoken to the people with the news on the basis of their likes and so on. We've had the first car commercials that have been created fully through AI. Even the art of perfumery, which we thought was very intensive, laborious manual task, is now being possible through AI, which again uses millions of ingredients to then come up with the right combination of what would go into the perfume. Halloween costumes, for that matter, is now being created through AI. Even Harry Potter, while we know that Rowling has retired, you'll have the next version of Harry Potter, which will be written through AI. And if you're short of inspiration quotes and you don't know who to reach out to because you've already exhausted it, you even have AI which is coming up with inspirational quotes on the basis of the type of mood or the virtue that you're looking at. So again, the point here is that the world around us is seeing this rapid innovation through the power of AI. And this, contrary to what people are thinking, that is recent, is not actually a recent phenomenon. In fact, it was in the early 1950s when AI was first coined, thanks to Alan Turing, who actually came up with the idea of machines that could think, if not smarter than humans, almost like humans. And he was the one who devised the Turing test, which essentially to see if a human being could demarcate between the activities done by another human being or by the machine. And over the course of the last 60 years, today that we see, the AI technologies can not only sense, they can comprehend, and they can even decide. What you see in the right blue box are different forms of AI technology, whether it is looking at millions of data feeds coming through CCTV cameras, images, videos, where it uses aspects of computer vision. or looking at sound bites, which can be processed real time when you're looking at speech analytics of the consumer that is calling in, or whether it is looking at different forms of digital sound bites that are coming in through web blogs and other social media platforms and applying knowledge, natural language processing to it, or the knowledge representation from the example that I talked about on recipes, which uses the classification in order to sort different forms of data points to comprehend it and then provide recommendations, or the expert systems and the machine learning, which is training the machine to perform a task like a human being. Each of these are examples of AI. And what we see today, whether it is digital agents or virtual agents or identity analytics through biometrics or cognitive robotics, where the robots are performing a task of a human being, or speech analytics when you speak to Echo, or the recommendation systems in the Netflix of the world, or even the visualization around us, all these are applications and the use cases that AI is bringing to the normal world. So what was erstwhile seen as science fiction is now actually reality. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more that we will see around us. And as we see today, fast forward 60 years, AI today is in every single aspect of our life, whether it is autonomous vehicles or the drones that are using a combination of image and deep learning modules to provide real-time alerts and recommendations, or the content recommendation. For example, in this, the New York Times, which is the online edition, actually opens a page which varies by the human profiles or by the consumer profiles. So depending on the type of news that you would want to, once you log in, you have variants of the New York Times that can show to you, which only shows the news that you're most interested in. Or even image and video processing. What you see in the right-hand side is the actual image of an individual, and the one to the next of it is the one that is being created, by AI. So as you can see, what's happening today is that AI is almost matching or augmenting human intelligence. And anything which is digitized, any form of data which was earlier analog, which is now available digitally, is now getting processed, is getting classified, is getting analyzed. And the secret sauce behind this is the nexus of forces around us. It's the availability of software, it's the cheaper hardware costs, it's the cloud and the computing that is around us, which allows us to scout and mine and process millions and millions of data points at a matter of milliseconds, and then have these high-powered processing capabilities, which are used to essentially leverage the algorithms to provide the best of recommendations and the smart intelligence around it. And what we see is every single aspect of our everyday life is now getting transformed. Uh, Simple example, I'm sure some of you may have Apple Watches. Not only does AI help detect anomalies and provide real-time triggers if there is an irregularity in the rhythm, but it also is responsible for inflicting heartaches. In fact, the study indicates that there are 500,000 more left swipes than right in Tinder, of course, causing a lot of infliction to the person who is hoping to get to a positive answer. And further, what we see is that even when it comes to content, now whether it is the curation of content, as is so nicely done by Netflix, which curates through millions of titles and genres and recommends on the basis of a taste cluster, or what we are seeing is the creation of content. Who would have thought that AI would now start creating its own content? And the one case that comes in mind is the first AI generated commercial or trailer that was being created for the title Morgan by IBM Watson. So today it's the movies, tomorrow it could be a whole host of commercials that could be created by AI as well. We've seen CCTV cameras coming with augmented intelligence to observe emotions, gestures, behaviors, quality, footfall. And we're also seeing smart mirrors that can interact with individuals and provide recommendations and ads on the basis of the profile and the demographic of the individual that is interacting with the mirrors. The world of AI is essentially touching every single aspect of our life. What we're seeing are sensors that are enabling customized sleep, where the pods, which are powered by AI, seamlessly connect with the biometrics and adjust the temperatures and the firmness of the mattress to ensure comforts in your sleep. Or even a toothbrush. Who would have thought a simple toothbrush is now powered with sensors, which actually captures millions of data points when you brush your teeth, and it then provides recommendations on what should be the right amount of time we should spend, the the strokes, and even provides that information to your dental insurer so that you can get the best deals when it comes to dental hygiene. It's a 50 billion market at the end of the day, so a small toothbrush can go a long way for you to cut down your insurance coverage. We've seen examples of smart mirrors. This is an example that comes to my mind through H&M, which has interactive surfaces, which is not only recognizing you as an individual, but then contextualizing the experiences, connecting it to your Instagram accounts, and essentially even creating your own video bites that can be shared with your friends and families for the instant gratification on a particular clothing that you would want to buy. The world around us, and especially now with post-COVID, will see a change in the human psyche, and the change in the human behavior, and that in itself will spur a number of new technologies. We are witnessing a large influx of indirect human interactive societies. People will interact more through gadgets and digital devices than to do it in person. We are seeing various interactions happening digitally or contactless. We are seeing examples of experiences being created through virtual showrooming. Now, whether it is the furniture that you buy or a room that you want to rent, and even the experiences that you're looking at, whether it is to travel or whether it is to buy certain things, are being done through a combination of AR, VR, hyper personalized and contextualized through AI. And there are already enough evidences of how you can do things with less. AI is eliminating a number of repetitive tasks. Whether it is using a chatbot to or an admin or an AI admin to effectively manage your calendar, or looking at automatic transcription from the example that I talked about earlier, which is the donuts laboratories, where you can actually have an automatic transcription of the meeting notes. So you don't need a steno anymore, or even prompting employee support on the basis of your interaction with an app, which allows you to get access to various HR policies or even manage various HR processes through a click of a button. What we are seeing is an experience economy around us, whether it is the availability of a customer service person 24/7, available through a combination of web, email, or voice chatbot, a level of personalization on different types of products and services that you're looking at, or as I said earlier, the experiential and experience in the interactions around us. The organizations that can create the best of the experience are the organizations that are going to be succeeding tomorrow. And the way to do that is through AI, because what AI does is that it offers you precision, it offers you scale, and it offers you speed. If you want to go to the universe of one, and if you want to do it with hyper personalization, and you want to do it with an experience layer, you cannot do it without AI. We are seeing in this new world creation of various types of virtual interactions. Now, whether it is the mobile industries where people can connect and interact as if they are in a real room together, or a book club meetup, or for that matter, any virtual interactions which allow people to meet up and interact as if they were to do it in person, or even streaming certain content where you're watching together, even though in different rooms, but almost virtually watching together so that you can chat real time on the different aspects of the series that you're watching along with your friend. The world around us will see every single sector get disrupted through AI. And these are the six sectors, and incidentally, five of them are very, very consumer centric. The healthcare, of course, for the obvious reasons, but the two big sectors, which is retail and the banking and financial services, are the ones that are already seeing immense amount of disruption that is being done through the combination of advanced technologies and AI. The other two sectors, of course, with media and entertainment, as I touched upon some of the examples earlier, and the telecommunications, the network, the compute power, and the precision that AI brings in will see these two sectors see massive advancements in their ability to interact with the consumers. And last but not the least is the agricultural sector, which again today is highly inefficient, and with the aspects of smart agriculture, where you have precision agriculture through drones, which capture real-time feeds of plant produce and provide recommendations to the farmers on the amount of pesticides or fertilizers that they need to use, or the way they need to manage their agricultural assets. This is another sector which will see some massive deployment. Uh, and there are other sectors as well that we can see are seeing great progress. But those are the six sectors which will probably lead the race. What's next in AI? I would say that there are 10 things that marketers should be really on top of. The first, as I said earlier, is the aspect of personalization. What we are seeing today is, again, just a small sliver of what the world will see tomorrow. You'll see hyper personalization to an extent where even something like a tailored jeans, which could never be done, without actually visiting a store and trying out 15 different pairs of jeans, can now be done through a smartphone scanner, which takes a picture, creates a 3D rendition, captures your measurements, and then gets your tailored jeans, which is perfect fitted just to your taste. You have the ability to now create hyper personalized, accurate predictions on the various investments type that you as an individual would be interested in. You have authentic customer experiences. For example, the hospitality industry is now looking at creating various aspects of interactive digital assistants which interact with you and provide you with the best recommendation that suits your lifestyle preferences, your taste clusters, and so on and on. As I said earlier, the hyper personalization can only happen with the kind of scale, speed, and precision that AI offers. The next four things are around the creation of digital avatars and assistants in the virtual world. Of course, one of the things that AI we thought that AI could not do was creativity. But we're already seeing evidences of the right side of the brain, which is the creative part of the brain, now being brought in through AI. Now, whether it is art or whether it is creative content, or even in this case, creating choreography, which is predicting the future movements of a dancer, is something that is possible. Digital immersions in offline, we've seen recently in the IPL games or in the EPL games, you have empty stadiums with images of spectators, but you now have an opportunity to create a digital immersion of an individual in an offline mode. And imagine the possibilities for our marketers if you create a digital immersion of a person. You now have an opportunity to actually interact across the different types of variables. Now, with 20 billion variables and IoT devices that are around us, you will have a pervasive computing and access to information around it. Imagine an experience layer or intelligence layer that sits on top of that interacts with the different types of IoT devices at your home, whether it is your coffee maker, your microwave, your smartwatch, your shoes, which has sensors, and then provide recommendations on the basis of you as an individual. And the other thing that we're seeing is a digital avatar. Now, not everybody could afford a Manish Malhotra, but you could actually have a fashion stylist which is catered just for you. Not everybody could afford a relationship manager, which is only offered to HNIs or people with a lot of affluence. But you could have a digital avatar for different aspects, whether it is travel, financial services, well-being, fashion, and what have you. Even the departed, they're saying, would be immortalized, where you'll have a digitized version of that person. You'll have the voice data of that individual that is recorded, and this person, through a humanoid aspect, can interact with you even after they're long departed. So the possibilities are limitless. What we're seeing now is the third aspect of AI that will come in, which is the aspect of emotion intelligence and empathy. You would be able to, or AI would be able to assess your mood through just understanding and recognizing and mining through the speech or through the interactions that you have with your smartphone, and on the basis it'll provide you different types of recommendations. We are seeing a gamut of emotions, whether it is gestures, behaviors, that could now be recognized by AI to again provide you with the right set of recommendations that can be offered. We're seeing a layer of governance or cybersecurity, which is becoming extremely important. You have bots, and then you've got automated bots, and you've got bots for bots. And what could marketers do to then drive efficiency in certain things, but what could they do in terms of bringing in smart decision making through the use of bots? And last but not the least is an aspect of AI, which is now just an augmented intelligence to actually becoming a juror. In many cases, AI is just advising, but there would be a time in the next 5 to 10 years where you would actually have decisions that will be made by AI. So it could so happen that AI could make the decision when it comes to your food. AI could be making decisions when it comes to your clothing habits. So a combination of what we would do as marketers to then ensure that what the AI from an individual, which is the digital assistant from an individual is asking for, is what is being recommended. And last but not the least, there is possibility that AI would reach the same level of human level thinking or even more, which is what we call is the world of singularity. So AI could anticipate how we think and even act autonomously in the real world. And this is not only it. We expect AI to be entrenched in many things, revolutionizing the world. Now, whether it is computing, even looking at faster drug discovery, looking at robots and cobots in terms of revolutionizing manufacturing, which holds 30% of the world's GDP, looking at augmented reality for guided surgeries, which helps, much more precision in terms of some cumbersome, laborious surgical task, or even looking at 3D printing and 3D homes. Again, the level of precision that AI can bring in for extracting and creating the right shape of objects that you would like to create. So this is something that just cannot be avoided. And some of the data points that I would like to leave you with. The first is just the AI today is expected over the next 10 years to create $15.5 trillion of value, of which 1.5 to 2.5 trillion dollars is the value that will be available for the marketers to capitalize and monetize. We have 50 billion IoT devices that will be around us. Imagine the power of the connectivity and the interaction that you can have through these IoT devices around us. The use of AI is expected to soar more. The 84% of the marketers that are using AI, I would expect this number to be 100%, hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months. The number of 5G connections in Asia would be almost half the total connections. And the five technologies that are absolutely critical for a marketing professional or a marketologist, if I were to say, is AI and ML, which are part of the same field, the marketing and advertising technologies, the use of digital assistants, whether it is voice, chat, or digital, and last but not the least, the experience layer, which is enabled through a mobile tech and app. These five things are the five accoutrements that you must have, which will help you create and capture the share of this 1.5 to 2.5 trillion dollars in value. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation and again say that AI is ready, and it is just up to us to reach out and leverage it to its fullest potential. Thank you.